Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Sick Podcast Talking Titans. Some of you might notice this is my office to some on certain platforms, but don't usually like to be in here during the show. But sometimes you do what you got to do. But we have a phenomenal guest, one you've definitely seen with us before. We're always very delighted to have her on. I don't want to waste any time, so let's jump right in. Jimmy, start us up.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Talking Titans.
With the first pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Cameron Ward, quarterback, Miami.
The sickest Tennessee Titans podcast. It's gonna be sick.
All right, folks. Again, welcome back to another edition of Sick Podcast Talking Titans, joined as always by my counterpart, Jarett. How are you today, sir?
What's going on? Everyone should be familiar with that. That's the post-game rant right there for you.
Yeah, it is. Some people love or hate me from this chair, but you do what you got to do. But as I mentioned in the intro, guys, we have a phenomenal show planned. One of our favorite guests is returning, and we don't want to waste any time bringing her in. The one and only Miss Kayla Anderson. Kayla, how are you doing today?
What's up, guys? Happy to be on. It's been a minute. If you are seeing me right now, I probably look sweaty. That's because I've been running around with my head cut off today. So just to be transparent, if people are wondering out there why my hair looks ratty and I have a hat on, that's why.
My hair looks ratty too, but I have a hat on too, so we're all good.
You're always going to
We're
look
all in
better
the
than
same
the two
boat
of
today.
us.
That's it.
That's for sure. But yeah, again, thanks so much for joining us. I don't want to waste any time. I'll jump right in with a question first that I think is something that a lot of people are going to want answers on. You are obviously have your thumb on the pulse of this team, as always. I think most fans would agree that last year at this time, there was a good amount of hype around Will Levis. A lot of the video you saw from camp was promising. Things being said by staff were promising. And obviously, we saw what the product was from all of those great positive things. Of course, in the situation we're in now with the first overall pick and Cam Ward, a guy I know you love dearly, I want to know, like, is there anything you could tell us that just feels a little bit different about this early camp from last early camp, and like just specifics about Cam himself that would lead us fans to be, properly excited about this opportunity since we saw a similar one just last year?
I know, I was so excited that my camera tipped over. I was obviously shaking in my chair. I was so pumped to talk about this. It is a good question, though, because I think last year we were all excited as media members, as fans, because there was a chance that Will Levis could possibly be the guy. And I think that the Titans also did a lot of building up of Will Levis. And, you live and you learn, because obviously that build up didn't amount to what it should be. And thus is where we're at right now with the new quarterback coming in. So while I think last year there was a lot of excitement for Will Levis, it was in a way manufactured a little bit. And I think some people should have just maybe pumped the brakes a bit. But again, we live and we learn. So what's different about this, you guys, is the body of work that Cameron Ward comes in with. If we go back to Will Levis's career at Penn State and then transferring to Kentucky, where he had really one good season and then suffered through some injuries, he didn't play as much football as Cam Ward has played in his career. And I think what Cam Ward has shown is progress wherever he's been. It's been a journey up to this point, and it will be a journey now in the National Football League for him to build his professional career. But I think we're seeing those fundamentals right now when we had OTAs and when we saw them in mini camp. You're seeing the base of who Cam Ward is, who is a studious young man who obviously is very smart. I think that goes underplayed sometimes, is how cerebral Cam Ward really is and how quickly he soaks up things in that film room and how quickly he can make adjustments. And I think we'll see that throughout this rookie season as he goes through ups and downs. I think we'll see those adjustments throughout the season where we really never saw that with Will Levis. So the feeling for me is that there's already a really solid base and there's a cerebral part to his game that you feel comfortable with. Now, he hasn't been perfect, but that's what you get from a rookie quarterback. I just feel like the whole rewiring the brain, that isn't something to worry about with Cam Ward, where it was with Will Levis. And we started to see that as early as training camp last year. And also go on to say that he is comfortable in his own skin. Cam Ward knows who Cam Ward is, and it doesn't matter who rocks his boat, he's going to continue to be Cam Ward. I think that's what we've been missing on the offensive side of the ball in a quarterback for a minute now. So those are the differences I see, guys.
Kayla, there's a lot of things that we love about your journalism and how you cover a football team, specifically the Tennessee Titans. You're very interactive with all the fans, which we love, especially on Twitter when you're on the field over there at practices. Uh, I interact with you as well on Twitter. There was a lot of times every day that you're talking about who do you guys want to see more of. I tweeted you out last week about Gunnar Helm. Now, speaking of Gunnar Helm, right? How do you see that tight end? Because this position group really intrigues me now because we're really not talking really that much about Chig, and then Josh Wiley, who was a loudmouth last year, is not talked about anymore. It's like the Gunnar Helm show almost, and he's almost taken that extra step to being tight end number one. How do you see like that room playing out, and has Gunnar Helm really taken over that room essentially?
It's an interesting thing that you bring up because I think two names that you mentioned in Chigakonkwo, who has been here for a minute, and Josh Wiley, who's been here for a couple of years, they both had their issues in terms of their consistent play. With Chigakonkwo, it's always, tough starts to the season or inconsistencies with drops. There's never really a consistency with his play. With Josh Wiley, is injuries. It's been injuries. It's been concussions. And so he's never been able to build on his play. So it's hard to really see the, long-term future for those guys. Whereas now you've got a guy coming in from Texas who played at the SEC level, who, was one of the better tight ends definitely in college football this past season. And he comes in with that confidence as well. And I think that's a big thing from this rookie class that I'm starting to pick up. Like, these guys know who they are. And while they're going to sit and take criticism and all of that because they're rookies, they know who they are as players coming in, and they're just willing to build on that. What I've seen from Gunnar Helm early on, first and foremost, Luke Stalker, the new tight ends coach, said it, and I completely agree with this. It's one of the toughest positions to play, guys. I mean, you, other than the center and the quarterback, your mind is constantly going. Are you blocking? Are you a pass catcher? There's so many things in terms of each play that these guys have got to be prepared for. So it does take a lot to put it all together. But I've liked Helm early on in terms of his connection with Cam Ward, primarily over the middle. And I think that's the thing we saw about Cam Ward at Miami with some of his tight ends there that found success is Cam Ward is successful going over the middle. And with that longer, bigger body in Gunnar Helm, he's been able to do that early on here in OTAs and in minicamp. Now, he had a day, I think it's one of the last days of minicamp where he was a little off. He had a couple drops, but instead of kind of moping around and, while, in his sorrows, he pretty much just like picked it back up, admitted that he had to be better. And that's what I like about a player like that. I think he's going to learn quickly, and he definitely has the skills to be a guy that can be helpful right out of the gate for Cam Ward.
Yeah, I don't want to bring this guy's name up too much. We're obviously moved past him at the position at least. But it is still a topic that I think deserves some sort of attention. And that is, do you see Will Levis being on this football team, against Denver? I mean, I can understand reasons for keeping him around. I can understand reasons for shipping him out, but like I don't think there's really any clear understanding of what their plan is with him, considering he's under contract for another 2 years.
Yeah, and I'm not a general manager, but at times I feel like I think like one, just because I've been around football for so many years now. But if I am the Tennessee Titans, And I have seen some improvement in Will Levis in the offseason because he did go over to California. He did work out. He has been doing things, to try to help him. And again, he hasn't played a lot of football compared to Cam Ward. So it might take him longer to develop. I don't think his chance of playing the NFL is completely over, but I think it's over in Tennessee in terms of, being a backup here would be a little bit weird, I feel like, not only for him, but for Cam Ward, for the entire team, because he's kind of had his shot here. And for Will Levis, I remember at the end of the year, he said, wherever it is, I think I can still be a starter somewhere. That's up for debate. He's got to prove that. But I think the smartest thing that the Titans can do is work him through all of, like we did, OTAs, minicamp, training camp, let him play in some preseason games and then see what you can get for him. I mean, what's the worst thing? You get a 6th round pick. Okay, they want all the draft picks they can get every year. It's one more draft pick. I just think it doesn't benefit anybody really to have Will Levis here. Yeah, you could say he's a better backup than the 2 other guys they have right now, but Will Levis also probably isn't in the happiest place, and the Titans probably know that too with their rookie quarterback, that it is a bit awkward.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a bit awkward, with having Will Levis there, but you know what? He would be a decent, backup quarterback in the NFL. I mean, if he's showing progressions and it's not rushed and he's just slowing down and Cam Ward is just that much better. Granted, Cam Ward's obviously the starting quarterback. But moving on to another position group that I want to talk about, what's very important to this team surrounding your quarterback with talent is the wide receiver room. Who do you think the odd man out is going to be? Because do they going to carry 6 wide receivers? Do they carry 7 wide receivers? Are they going to carry 3 vets, 3 rookies, possibly an undrafted free agent, Xavier Restrepo, who's turning heads constantly, getting open, with the wide receiver coach telling him that all he does is get open. He may be slow, but, for him, in my opinion, I think he's definitely making this team along with Alec and DK. So do you see like a Treylon Burks, a Van Jefferson, who we spent money on? Is he a roster cut, or is he just a camp body? Do we get somebody else? How do you see that room playing out?
Well, I definitely don't think you're going to see a guy like Jaquan Jackson. I think last year it hurt him because of special teams. That puts a chink in the armor in not a good way, because he primarily was drafted to be a special teams guy, and he obviously could not handle that, and that's taking up a roster spot, right? So you could see a guy like Xavier Restrepo coming in, where you talked about him being a little slower. Yes, I get that, but we talked with Bones on special teams, and he pretty much said like he's doing everything he needs to do to be a special teamer first. And then obviously, if you could utilize him because of that natural connection with Cam Ward, that's not overplayed either. Like, that's a real thing that we have seen early on in mini camp and in OTAs, is that connection is real. Now, how it plays out in real games during the season, I'm not sure yet. But what you see right now is that clear connection, and they're constantly working together. So I also see, there's a guy like Bryce Oliver, who I think last year caught fire at the end of the year, especially as a special teams player, who I really like. But because the room is so crowded, I see, that's a fringe kind of guy as well. And then Van Jefferson, I'll be the first to admit, guys, I didn't like the signing. He's just not played a lot of football in the last couple of years because of injuries. But I'll tell you this, in person, he's a lot bigger than I thought he was, honestly, and he's looked pretty good early on with that connection with Cam Ward. So while I kind of thought he wasn't a lock, early on at least, I feel like he could be beneficial. So yeah, I see a guy like Jaquan Jackson, Bryce Oliver, who else there is kind of on the outside looking in. I mean,
Treylon Burks too.
you guys,
Jarett thinks he's gone.
man,
Yeah,
I don't.
he has to be.
he's he's coming off that injury, but you guys, he's big. Like,
Yeah.
he is slow moving, and he is big, and I get it. He's coming off of an injury, and that takes a while, but I want to be honest with you, and I'm not trying to hate on Traylon Burks, because I like him as a person, but I just don't see that drive that he wants to be here. I
Yeah,
really don't,
since
you
he's been
guys.
drafted, he's the AJ Brown, like, kind of like scapegoat that we wish that he turned out to be. And it's just every time he steps to the mic and talks to you guys, he just doesn't have that it factor, that dog as a wide receiver. Like, give me the goddamn ball, I'm gonna make a play for you. It just doesn't have it, and the
Even in
rest of these guys see
drills.
it.
Yeah, even in drills, he's like the last one to go, and you see all these other guys, and they're hustling, and they seem excited to be there. And then I look at Traylon, and I almost feel sorry for him. Like it's a weird thing to see him right now go from a guy that was drafted in the first round to being a guy that probably is not going to make this roster,
Listen, give me a seventh round and a Jersey Mike sub. I'll be happy.
You're not
right?
getting a seventh
Seriously,
rounder.
I'll take the Jersey Mike sub then.
You
I
might
mean,
get that.
I don't
But
care at that
Yeah.
point.
Kayla, talking about guys who seem to have the energy and seem like they want to be there, one guy that's been jumping off the page for me is Femi Oladipo. I know this guy is basically a baby at the edge. He hasn't played a lot of edge in his career, but it appears that that's what we drafted him to play. And the film, at least from the social media stage, is that he looks pretty good.
hmm
Um, does this staff really believe that this guy is going to be a premier edge rusher?
I kind of think they do. And it might take a minute, like you said, to get to that position and be consistent, as they will need him to be. But first of all, there's not a lot of other options right now
Yeah,
on the edge. And I do think that Femi's familiarity with like a Denard Wilson type of defense helps with the catching on faster. Because I know that there are some rookies that came in specifically last year that struggled, I think, with the transition from college to the NFL and then primarily in a Denard Wilson type of defense. But I think like that's what they searched for, and that's why they liked Femi, is because they felt like he could come in and really develop into that edge, player quicker than maybe bringing in an older guy that just you're not going to get as much out of in the end. And again, remember, this is a rebuilding year. Like, you're not going to see some superstar team out of the gates, but as long as you're seeing the progress of these players that they drafted in those positions, I think that's a win. I just love his energy. Man, like, you know the players that are allowed out there, and we always talk about it mostly on the defensive side, and hopefully we'll have some of that on the offense now with Cam Ward. But you know where he is at all times, and I just like, again, what he comes in with the confidence like all the other rookies, but also willing to take the criticism and know like when I need to fix things. And so I'm excited to see him in training camp. I think he's going to be a wrecking ball. And Denard Wilson, I've talked with so many players. I just talked with Quandre Diggs the other day, and he freaking just raved about Denard Wilson and said it didn't work out because we had to do most of the work last year. But the defense was not bad to start the year by any
no,
means. They got worn out. And he said, as long as you have a front, like you're gonna have a good defense. And I feel like they're building that, and it's going to come with time. But I think they know what they're doing.
Kayla, has it at any like the free agency or the rookies coming in here? Does anybody turn in your head saying, "Oh my God," like a Cody Barton, or how's Dan Moore been in camp, or even Kevin Winston? Is he practicing as of yet, doing light work on the side with his ACL injury? Is he ready to go for camp?
He's been doing work on the side. Holy crap, that dude is huge. Like, you look at like a cornerback nowadays, and I don't know, I think we're not as used to seeing those bigger cornerbacks. Like, my Seattle Seahawks, they've drafted specifically for bigger cornerbacks, right? And I think heard through the grapevine that Chad Brinker is not a fan of small cornerbacks. And I think you saw in this draft specifically
Hmm.
going out and getting a guy like Kevin Winston. And it looks like he should be good around training camp to go. And so hopefully we'll get to see more of him. But it's just impressive, like looking at him and seeing like what a big corner he is. We haven't seen a ton of that here in the past several years. I mean, Christian Fulton wasn't that big.
No.
L'Jarius Sneed's not that big. I mean, but this is a big-bodied, physical type of cornerback. So I'm excited to get to see him. It was great to see Zeitler for a couple days. He came back out there, and talk about a guy who is going to vastly help that line. I mean, the guy has tree trunks for legs. He just moves bodies like effortlessly.
That's what we need.
And I think it's going to be great with him being like another, in a way, too, kind of coach for some of these younger players. I think that can be huge on the right side with JC Latham, transferring over, which he's transformed his body as well.
That's good. Kayla, before you go, Sal, ask your last question. I just want to know, Kayla, what's your status going into your transition now? We're going to keep you in Nashville. Are you trying to stay in Nashville? Do you have any aspirations with the Titans or anything?
Yeah. So first and foremost, if your listeners or viewers don't know, I was suddenly let go by 104.5 The Zone. And I'm just a real transparent person. I don't believe in, sugarcoating things. I don't see the benefit in that. And so I'll be transparent with you. I did not see that coming. It was extremely unexpected and I was not prepared for it. I'm always prepared for things in life that, happen, because in this business, just like the NFL, things happen suddenly. But, when it comes out of nowhere and you lose your job,
It's like a low blow.
that's a lot coming at you at once. And so I will say, if anybody is a person who is just a grinder, it's me. And so the minute that I lost my job, I took about a couple days to, you know, feel sorry for myself, I guess, and pick myself up and just have been getting my work out there. Been doing a lot of freelance work. I'm doing some writing. I'm doing, some videos for some sites. And so hopefully, along with that, there'll be something that will stick around. So if that is in Nashville, which I would love for it to be, because I
We
love
hope
covering the
so.
Titans, yeah, then I'll stick around here. But if there's an opportunity that presents itself somewhere else, you guys know the business, like you got to go where the job is,
That's it.
just like a professional player. So we'll see where it goes, but I'll always keep you posted on my journey as well. And no matter where I go, like I'm gonna follow the Titans. I mean, they've got Cam Ward. This is the guy that I've wanted on the Titans for the past like year and a
Yep.
half.
That's it.
Well, Kayla, believe me, we were just as surprised as you were, and obviously we're always in your corner, and anywhere you go, we'll be following. So, absolutely keep us informed on what your future endeavors are, and you obviously always got a home here at the Sick Podcast Talking Titans. So
We got to hook her up with a hat
um,
or something. I mean, at this point,
yeah,
Yeah.
if she's gonna rock hats all the time.
I
we do,
know.
we
I
do.
mean, I'll rock one of your hats for sure.
We can get one of those made. We'll talk to AC. We know that we can figure out that style, get a nice logo on there. But
Love it.
Kayla, as always, thank you so much for joining us. Hope you have a great rest of your week, and we'll definitely catch up with you real soon.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate
Thank you
you.
very much, Kayla. Appreciate you.
All right, the one and only Kayla Anderson. Appreciate her as always. Such a great friend of the show, always supporting us. And as we said earlier, we hope nothing but the best for her in the future. And we hope to see her covering Tennessee, so we don't have to drag her from her other team to get on the show. So, yeah. With that being said, Jay, I mean, she covered a lot of the things we wanted to talk about. I know I dropped the ball today with our new segment as far as the Titans are concerned, the guests and Titans. But as always, you're up to.
Listen,
You're
you had a
prepared,
busy
so.
schedule. You had a busy schedule today. You're in the car, even though you wanted
Yeah.
to do the podcast. I mean, you got to do what you got to do sometimes, especially when we have a great guest with Kayla Anderson on. But yes, I'm going to keep it going with our new segment over here. Jimmy actually spoiled it before the show, so Sal got a glimpse of it a little bit. So he's probably, it's been migrating in his head a little bit right now. So Jimmy, can you just throw up my picture over here of guess who's that Titan this week?
Well, trust me, nothing had to migrate for very long. I knew that basically upon instant. Now I'll tell you what though. At first glance, it looks like Kerry Collins.
Yes,
but it's obviously not. That's Mr. Billy Volek.
Yes, it is. He spent four to
And
5 seasons, I think he was with us. I went 3
yeah,
and 7. He had a
this
couple
was
good
still
stretch.
yeah, this was still in my phase where I was like sitting next to my dad, but not really watching. I was kind of
Yeah,
playing my fucking Game Boy. But oh yeah, I mean Billy Volek. Yeah, he actually didn't he have a playoff start for us?
he did. He had a couple 4-touchdown games for us as well.
Yeah, I mean,
He had a
listen,
good run. He was only 3 and 7 as a starter, but I mean, the
listen.
guy was a fan favorite for a couple weeks.
Yeah, because when you play for the Titans, a 3-7 record will make you a fucking fan favorite. And that's what we're trying to change now.
For real, exactly.
So, Listen, I know you got to run. We'll close up for today, guys. As always, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. If you're watching at this point, you're not subscribed. That just doesn't make sense. So please do that. We keep the best guests coming as
and we
often
got
as
another
possible.
big guest coming next week as well. So we're not going to spoil that right now.
We're not going to spoil that, but if you've been a fan of this team for more than 5 years, you're probably going to know who this next guy is. We've had him on before, so we're very excited to bring him back. I have not been on since he's been on, so I'm very, very excited to get to talk to him. But stick around. Make sure you look out for us on all our social medias. And as always, tighten up. So thanks you all for showing up today, and we'll see you on the flip. Jimmy, you can send us out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Talking Titans on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.